evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann, and this is the award-winning Fan Show. Thank you. You are too kind, Fan Nation, and this is another Robotics and Tech Division special, aka our weekly BattleBots show that we do right here every Wednesday on the Fan Show. These shows are pre-recorded, but they are just as good as the real live version of the show because I still treat them like they're a real live version of the show. Little editing. None of the riffraff that you get with, people that pre-record and go about editing and adjusting. It's all raw and it's real, and that's how we like it right here on the Fan Show, where everyone's a fan of something, and we have something for every fan, especially you fans of combat robotics, enthusiasts of BattleBots, and people that just get enthralled with what happens inside the BattleBox. These specials are for you. That's right. You. Looking at you. Yep. You. Oh, yes. Definitely you. You too. Hey, you over there in the back. Yep. You. And you. Yeah. Right up front here. You too. This is for you, and you. Also you. Over there to the right. Yes. You. You too. No, I mean it. Truly. Okay. So enough of that. We do have another fantastic special for you. Another great guest. It's always fun to sit down and talk with these guys and get a little bit more behind the scenes as far as just what goes into their off season and then what it's like to watch their season actually play out in front of them on the Discovery and or Science Channel, which tonight, little reminder, there is the re-airing of episode number 5 on the Science Channel, including the Science Channel bonus fight between Texas Twister and Axe Backwards. Texas Twister 1-0 will go against Axe Backwards 0-1. Will someone stay undefeated, or will someone finally get one in the win column? You'll have to tune in tonight to find out how that one goes down. But man, did we ever have another great card. Now, there were a few fights that I thought were, okay, whatever. But you got to leave it to the producers and the creators. They're trying their best to mix and match and give you guys the best quality content that they can with each one of these fights. And for the most part, I feel like they have done a stellar job of getting you stacked fight cards for an hour's worth of great BattleBots content for their fight night that they do during the regular season. And of course there's going to be some matchups that aren't so great. I just like that we're actually seeing every fight, and although we've seen several bots multiple times now, and there's some that we haven't seen at all yet, but I'm sure that we will. In fact, this week's fight card will be announced tomorrow, like they do on BattleBots. I wish I knew what they were right now, but I don't. I know how some of these fights, what the outcomes were, because I was there, but I don't know how the makeup of the episodes. So I get to be just as surprised as you guys out there of the Robotics Division Fan Nation. So, to recap episode 5, we had some good ones. We got to see Shatter in its shatteredness. I say that meaning that we all love Chomp, right? And I say that meaning that there's a lot of people that don't love Chomp. They don't understand Chomp and why, Zoe continues to do what she does with Chomp and compete. But for the rest of us, we love and we respect Chomp and what Zoe does. And she's one of the baddest women in BattleBots. And there's a certain artistry about Chomp, right? It's the pickaxe bot that can go out there and self-right and swing one mean pointed hammer, aka the pickaxe. And when it's on, right? I mean, it is great to watch it go out there and perform, and when it's striking with precision and accuracy and giving these blows to different bots, like, it is a thing of beauty. And that's the part that I really truly love and respect about a bot like Chomp. Well, Shatter is a similar bot, right? We have a hammer swinging or a pickaxe wielding bot that goes out there looking to take its shot, and when it does, hopefully delivers the killer blow. And maybe if it doesn't, it delivers several blows that leads up to its eventual victory. But when these bots are off, not so entertaining. But when they're on, like Al Kindle's Blacksmith, when they're on, man, they are something to watch out there. They really are. So we saw Shatter in true Shatter form. They got the win over Who. Congratulations to those guys. Then we got to see the debut of some young fist-pumping fighters in Uppercut take on another young, talented fighter, first-timer, and that was the people of Mammoth. So you have this huge bot that has a win over Axe Backwards for its ability to flip the bot out of the battle box, but now you have Uppercut that delivers a mean punch with its fist-shaped vertical spinner, if you would even call it that. But that weapon is cool, and it looked awesome out there. It went out there, and it delivered a couple of kill shots to Mammoth, so they had a very successful debut. And congrats to their captain, Alex Hattori. Believe I'm saying that correctly. Apologies if I don't. Who is now a 7-time world yo-yo champion. I mean, what can't this kid do? He's got a great bot that's 1-0 now, and then he's won his seventh yo-yo world championship title. I mean, that's just crazy. Kid's got a lot of talent. I am very excited to have him on the show next time, hopefully. Couldn't make it work this week because he's out yo-yoing. That's literally what he said in Messenger. He's like, hey man, love to, but can't this week. I'm out doing yo-yo stuff. I love it. That's a great response because he's honest and I got a good laugh out of it. So hopefully we'll find a time that works for his schedule. That's the challenge that I face here on the F.A.N show, is that although we're watching this season play out now, weekly, with new episodes of BattleBots, the season's happened. We know who the winner is, those of us that were in attendance. A champion has been crowned. Could be new, could be repeat, could be somebody who's done it before. You won't know until you actually see the whole season play out, both regular and postseason. But for people like me, I know, and so here we are now with this trying to run down all these different folks from BattleBots. Then we also had Huge, got a big win over Jasper. Witch Doctor with a win over Captain Shredderator. I feel for those guys because I like Captain Shredderator, but Witch Doctor, man, they're onto something here. Very good fight there. And then we had Black Dragon over Bloodsport, and then finally the main event, which was Whiplash over Son of Waiachi. What a main event fight that was. Couldn't have gone any better for Team Whiplash and Matty Vasquez had they planned it or scripted it, but man, it was great. So he is my special guest tonight, the captain, the driver, one of the best in the biz of BattleBots, Matt Vasquez. My one-on-one with him had a great conversation, so without further ado or any more delay, enjoy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, joining me now is a man that is one of the best for his, well, I almost said for his age, but really he's one of the best drivers, period, in BattleBots today. He is Matthew Vasquez, or as Chris Rose has specifically requested, I address you as Mr. Matty V. Welcome, Matt. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. How about you? It's good to be back.
Yeah, it's been quite the start to a new season of BattleBots, which I think we all love and appreciate the way that things have picked up right where they left off. We've got a good competitive field, the most bots we've ever had, and some new faces, some returns, and then, of course, you, amongst others that did so well last year that now it looks like you're being put up against some, well, tougher opponents, which we'll talk about. But let's go ahead and start with, first and foremost, how do you feel you've sort of, conditioned yourself to BattleBots as one of the younger drivers, knowing that it's a family affair, sure, but, you're the one that's in the pits and with the family, and then, of course, once that light hits green, you're the driver, and you're against all comers, veterans, newbies, rookies, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, there's a lot of pressure because, you work all year to, make the robot as perfect as possible, but none of it matters if you don't drive it correctly. So, I mean, once the light turns green and, the fight starts, you just kind of need to focus, turn off all emotions, and just do what you have to do. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it.
What would you say you've learned each season that you've done, Whiplash, or you've controlled Whiplash in BattleBots, or even, any other competitive robot fighting? Because I know that there's a lot out there, but obviously everybody sort of hones in on BattleBots as like the grandest robot fighting stage of them all. But what has the experiences over the years taught you?
I think the biggest thing I've learned is that for every competition, no matter how well you do, you have to make improvements, because everyone else will be making improvements. Even if there's something that didn't even fail on the robot, it's still, you need to like every year step up pretty much every aspect of the robot if you want to do as well as you did the previous season. Or, in our case, I mean, we obviously, we got to the semifinals last season, and this year the goal is to, go all the way. And if we want to do that, you can't do it unless you make major improvements, because everyone else is doing the same thing.
Wow. And so, I think for you guys, obviously, is Fearsome Foursome, the Vasquez family, and there's a lot of families involved, which, brings me to your opponent from this last week, Son of Waiachi, which was, I got to say, pretty much a fight that, as far as strategy goes, went as well as you can prepare against a veteran family team like the guys in Waiachi. But for you to pretty much take his weapon out of the equation and take your lumps while doing it, but then to use what you had, not necessarily your weapon, but the other aspects of your bot to your advantage. I mean, it was really genius driving. As I'm sitting at home watching this play out on Discovery, what does it mean to be recognized as one of the best drivers and to get wins like that, on BattleBot's main event?
I mean, it's pretty crazy, because if I look back when I was just, a little kid just, watching the show, that I wouldn't expect that any of this would be happening right now. So, I mean, when you look at it that way, it's pretty cool. But, with the Son of Waiachi fight in particular, the driving for that fight was really simple in the sense that all we had to do was flip them over. We had a set goal. When we fight Tombstone or Minotaur, you just kind of have to survive the full 3 minutes, and there's really no exact way to win that fight. With Son of Waiachi, there was an exact goal we had, and that was to flip them over. And we knew that's all we had to do to win. So that simplified things, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say that in hindsight, but I know that that's a full-body spinner, and if you let that thing get up to full speed, it could be a different story. It's easier said than done at that point.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
But no, you guys did really good. I was really impressed. And I wanted to know, I'm curious, because I know that there's like an unofficial, maybe, or maybe it is official, rankings out there going into each season. Because Ray has, puffed his chest out like only Ray Billings knows how to do, and said that his bot has been ranked number 1 the last 3 seasons. Where do you feel Whiplash is? Is it top 5?
I mean, I think if we continue, I mean, I obviously can't say how we do in the rest of our fight card rounds, but if we continue to do similar to how we're doing right now, we could very well be in the top 5. Because I think if we do go 4-0, I think that would put anyone in the top 3 or 4 easy. But if, say we go 3-1, and it's we have 1 strong loss, or pretty much anyone who goes 3-1 to a tough field of robots with 1 strong loss has a decent chance of getting into the top 5. It's really hard, though, because last season there were so many 3-1s that, there were so many equally ranked robots.
Yeah, it was a pretty level playing field, and now we're starting to see some bots kind of get innovative, which we love in this kind of atmosphere. And there's a lot of bots that are just trying new things. Of course, we saw the upgraded version of Kraken and how effective that's been for Matt Spurk and company. So, anything and everything that you can try. You guys obviously got a new paint job, but when I was down there visiting, you said that that's not the only thing new that we've done. What adjustments, what sort of different features, anything like that did you apply in the off-season going into this new one?
So the 2 main things we changed for Whiplash this year was, 1 was reliability, because after every fight, win or lose last season, there was smoke coming from our robot from somewhere. And that's obviously something you don't want to happen. Yeah. So the first thing was change every motor we use in the robot, run it a little bit more conservative and more reliable. So that was a big thing. And the other thing was strengthening the chassis, because obviously after that Tombstone fight from last year, he pretty much ripped the armor off and took the front of the robot off with it. So our chassis was not strong enough for the big spinners that, are in BattleBots these days. So that was another huge improvement. I actually wrote a Servo article, Servo Magazine, that'll probably come out in the next month or 2, that pretty much goes over all the changes we made on Whiplash. So if anyone's listening and wants to check that out, that I went over pretty much all the big changes on Whiplash this year.
Because there's a lot of you guys that will make some really big changes, even if the overall design doesn't look very different. When I was talking to, Andrea from Witch Doctors, she said, I told her, your bot doesn't look any different. She's like, yeah, but the whole thing is different, So it's crazy what you guys will do in the off season.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's the little things that'll make the difference. I mean, even Witch Doctor looked very similar to it did last season, but just, when you watch his last fight, how it's Shredderator, it shows that there were some big changes and big improvements.
What's a little thing that you guys have done, whether it's as a bot or as a team, that you feel has made you better than you were last season?
I think for us, it was a combination of a lot of little things. Because if you look at the robot from the outside, it looks very similar to last season. You might not be able to tell the difference if the color was the same. But if you look on the inside, things are very different. Instead of running two 48-volt motors for the drive, now we're running 4 smaller 28-volt motors. So the idea there is to run it a little bit more conservative, with a little bit less power, but have a lot more reliability, and we'll be able to maintain full power for our whole fight, which is very important. And the other thing is we changed how we mounted our armor a little bit. Instead of using shock mounts with rubber in between, we use shock mounts with bolts going all the way through. So the idea is that it'll be harder to rip the armor off the front of the robot. And the other thing is the chassis on the robot. The front face of the chassis, before the whole entire thing was all 1/4-inch aluminum. This time we made the front twice as thick and left all the rest of the robot the same. So the idea is that the armor should be much harder to take off the front of the robot, because one pattern we noticed last year is that when the armor comes off, we are pretty much done. Like with the Tombstone fight, we were doing pretty well, but then once the armor panel came off, we pretty much had nothing. So keeping the fronts on is a big thing for us.
Yeah, I think obviously for you guys, onward and upward, and you guys have definitely made a name for yourselves. And I think, like I said, you're not necessarily one of the best drivers for your age. Like, I think that you're one of the best out there right now. So if you were to look at your guys' setup and your record right now, as we're going on, 6 episodes into the new season, where would you say you guys are amongst the best, and who is in that company with you when it comes to the best bots right now?
So I'd say ranking-wise in the tournament right now, because the most people have had 2 fights at this point. Or at least a lot of people have had 2 fights at this point. And I don't remember the record of everyone, but I would say right now we're 2-0. Right now, Witch Doctor's 2-0. Tombstone's 2-0 at this point. And then, let me think who else. Those are the only 3 I can remember right now that are at 2-0. So I'd say right now us 3 have a good, if you could remember anyone else, but I'd say all the 2-0 robots right now have a very good shot at getting the top 16, I would say. So I think that's the most I can say at this point.
So obviously you guys are in good company, and you guys have had a pretty tough schedule. That Waiachi fight, a lot of people looked at that and they're like, this is going to be interesting. And I think it was. Yeah. And, hearing you talk, there's a certain confidence about you, which I think is fantastic, because, why wouldn't you be confident at this point at 2-0 with one of the best on the rise bots? I don't even know if it's on the rise anymore, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the live event in Vegas, because you guys were part of that. Tell me, because Peter Abrahamson and I talked a great deal about what the future holds for BattleBots, and he says if this goes well, this could be the reality of BattleBots moving forward as far as doing live, fight cards, kind of Vegas classic UFC boxing style. What was your take from it? I'll let you talk about this a little bit.
I mean, I hope that is the future of BattleBots, because doing little events like that is not less work, but it's a lot easier than doing a 2-week event for all these teams. So you don't have to take time off work and school and all those things. When you could just go to something like this for a weekend and, have a show as good as the one they put on, I think that would be an amazing thing. But, obviously the TV show is an incredible thing, but we could all get, events like this maybe a few times a year. That would be incredible.
Yeah, I think the biggest hurdle, of course, is availability for you guys. Yeah. But I think if you guys knew, and I'm sure you can speak for yourself on this, far enough in advance, you could easily make it work with either your schedule or finances or your sponsors.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. Something like this, maybe 3-4 times a year would be amazing. I think almost every team would be up for it.
What's your take on, how it all played out as far as was it a lot different than what you were expecting going into it than when it actually like played out as far as the live event goes?
The live event was it was a really weird thing because, we sort of, there were 10 teams that were invited. None of us knew exactly what to expect or exactly what was going on. We just kind of all showed up. They told us that at most we'd all have 2 fights and that, there'd be a winner, but no one really knew exactly how it worked. There was like the Twitch audience voting and stuff like that. It was all a little bit confusing, but then when it came down to it, it was just kind of, they told you, okay, you're up, bring the robot, line up, fight. And then, after our fight, we had to repair and get ready for the second one. But yeah, it was, really weird in the sense that instead of having an event that's 2 weeks long, it was a 2-hour event or 3-hour event, which is really crazy when you think about it, with heavyweight robots like this.
There was a phrase that I want to say it was that Kenny used, but maybe it was Chris that used it, that I hadn't heard up until this season, but I've heard it a few times now, and it's called box rushing, where once the light hits green, if you're against an opponent that maybe their primary weapon takes a few seconds to get up to full speed, you rush them to try to prevent that. In your mind, how much strategy is starting to play into what we're seeing unfold in BattleBots?
I think there's a lot of strategy, but I think when it comes down to it, it's really going to be the best robot wins, not necessarily the best driver. Because if you look at, say, last season with Byforce, for all the fights he won, he didn't have to drive that well. All he had to do was drive forward into everyone because he has such a design advantage to most of the robots that all he has to do is drive forward. And say if he fights someone like us, our only chance of winning is completely out-driving him, which is a very hard thing to do when all he has to do is keep the front of the robot forward. So I think strategy is obviously very important, but I think in the sense of when you're designing your robot rather than when you're driving the robot. Obviously driving is important, but I think having a better design will always be the main thing when it comes to winning.
Now you guys have the wedge, the lifter is also doubles as a self-righting mechanism, correct? Yeah. Okay, so in your opinion, which is the harder bot to prepare for? Somebody like Hydra or somebody like Duck?
I think, in our case, I think Duck would be easier to fight than Hydra, just being that Duck kind of has, higher ground clearance on most sides, and I think we could get under them in a head-to-head. I'd say we have more reach than Duck, which would make that fight a little bit easier for us. We wouldn't have to drive too great to, I think, get the advantage in that match. But with a robot like Hydra that's so low to the ground, I don't know if there's anywhere we can get under that robot. We may have to get all the way around the back or to the sides, because the front of the thing is so low and so shallow that I think we would just drive right up it. You don't know that we don't fight him yet. It's still possible in the season, in the fight card rounds or maybe in the tournament. But if I had to choose to fight one of those robots, I would choose Duck, because I think we just have a better chance against that type of robot with our robot.
Yeah, because Duck got thrown around for 3 minutes and then managed to win despite having its face peeled off right in front of us. And it was one of the most incredible things that I had seen inside the battle box. So,
for sure.
So strategy, I'm always curious, if there's just sort of an odd, Duck, pun intended, bot that certain drivers are just terrified of fighting because of how awkward the matchup is. I know a lot of guys don't look forward to fighting Huge because it's like, how do you fight something that can just drive right over your bot?
Exactly. It's rock, paper, scissors. It's really just a giant game of rock, paper, scissors. If you're, Byforce and you're going up against Huge, that's not a fight you want because, his weapon's too low to hit anything. But say you're, Ice Wave going against Huge, that's a fight you want because all you have to do is hit those wheels and, the fight's over. And then when you saw in the Vegas event, when, Byforce fought Ice Wave, Byforce took that fight pretty easily. So it's really just a giant game of rock, paper, scissors when it comes down to it. It all depends on, the matchups you get. And I think really a little bit of luck plays into every, champion-winning robot. I think there's always a few robots that are capable of, taking first place. But I think it's really preparedness and a little bit of luck that ends up deciding.
I think it's almost more than a little bit of luck because for Ray Billings to only have won one giant nut yet been ranked the number one bot for the last 3 seasons, that I think should go to show you just how much luck or everything going right for you or everything going wrong for you there is in this kind of sport. But what's a matchup that you haven't gotten yet that you'd really like to?
That's a good question. Well, we haven't fought huge yet, so that's a matchup I've always been very curious about what we would do.
As I mentioned it.
Yeah, exactly. Most vertical spinners are kind of scared to fight that robot because there's really nowhere to hit it. I mean, unless you hit the wheel straight on from the side, you really can't do anything to it. You're not going to reach the body unless you have a really large diameter weapon. But for us, we can bring the arm up into them, which is something unique that most robots don't have. So I think we would be well suited to fight them, but you don't really know till it happens. Then let me think. Who else would I want to fight? Hydra would be interesting just because we fought Bronco last season, and it's another big flipper. I think they would be harder for us than Bronco, being that they're so low on all sides.
Yep.
So, I'd like to try that matchup. But, yeah, I'd really like to get another chance at a lot of the vertical spinners, too, because when you saw in Vegas, we fought Biforce and Lockjaw. We had a very hard time with both those robots. We ended up beating Lockjaw, which ended up coming down to a little bit of luck in that fight. But, I'd like to try my chances against some of the harder-hitting vertical spinners, like maybe Cobalt or something like that, or Endgame.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good competition in the field this year. We just saw the debut of Uppercut, who did very well for themselves. So as somebody who's been brought up in the BattleBots family, pretty much in every aspect of the word, your family, and then, of course, once you're in, you're kind of into this whole new, larger friends and family in the pit area. But you're not a rookie anymore. You're a young driver, but you're not a rookie. But you look out into the field and see some of these rookies, like Ricky Willems, and then, of course, you have the guys in Uppercut and things like that. Who's impressed you the most? Like, who do you think can really make a name for themselves this season?
Rookies that have impressed me. I would say they're definitely not rookies to BattleBots or, combat robots in general. Being a new robot, I think Quantum is by far has impressed everyone the most out of the new robots.
Yep.
Just being, even though it lost to Lockjaw in its last fight, it was just so impressive in its win, and even just how it took hits from Lockjaw. So that's a robot that I think everyone is definitely, your competitors are afraid of, and at the same time just love so much because it's so unique. It works so well. It's probably the most beautiful robot in the tournament, I would say by far.
I will agree with you on that.
Yeah, for new robots, I would say Quantum. For rookie teams, Uppercut's a great team. They showed the robot worked well against Mammoth, and in their next fights, Mammoth is not necessarily the best first fight because it's such a unique robot. But it'll be interesting in the season to see how they do against some, more typical designs, maybe another vertical spinner or horizontal spinner.
Yeah. I think Ribot is another one out there.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And I think what they should do every season, at the end of the season as a bonus fight, is get all the rookies and first-timers to BattleBots into a bot rumble and see who comes out on it. It should be like an initiation each season.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, Matty V, I gotta say, man, been very impressive. I can't say that enough, of course, as a huge BattleBots fan and getting to go down and interact with you guys in the pits and just see what all goes into this in between fights and everything. It's always been such a great time to get to know you and your family, and you guys have been so awesome, and I am stoked for the rest of the season. So, hey, man, thank you so much for your time, and good luck the rest of the season.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. It'll be fun to watch the rest of the season and see what happens.
He is one of the best young drivers in BattleBots today, and he is him and his brother, the new captains of Team Whiplash, and they are undefeated, and they have a great season ahead of them. Can't wait to watch the rest of it. So thank you so much, Matty V. You have a great rest of your night, all right?
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. And one more big thank you to Matty V, a.k.a. Matt Vasquez, for taking the time to be on the show. We had a great conversation last time. This one was no different. Always a pleasure and really a privilege to get to converse with these talented engineers, bot fighters, hobbyists, extremists, whatever it is that you want to call them. These guys are awesome, and I love being a part of the world of BattleBots. So that will do it for this new special edition of our weekly BattleBots specials for our robotics division right here at the F.A.N Show. And next week we'll have an all-new one with an all-new guest. There's a few people on my radar as far as trying to get a couple of guests secured for the upcoming weeks. But, hey, in the meantime, enjoy the re-airing tonight on the Science Channel, including that bonus fight with Texas Twister and Axe Backwards. And then this Friday on the Discovery Channel, an all-new episode of Robot Fighting Time, a.k.a. BattleBots, and that's going to do it for us here at the Fan Show. So remember, it's not official unless it's Fan Show official, and we are officially out of here. Till next time, best of luck to you and yours. Go Niners, and of course, it's all fun and games until you butt fumble. Good night, folks!
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his own player's blood? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the Fan Show.